Hello YouTube, happy 4th of July. I'm continuing to celebrate the holiday with a little traditional American-made slip joint knife. I call it an extravaganza, but it really isn't that extravagant. What I'm going to show you today is some product from a fairly young company called Canal Street Cutlery Company. Don't quote me on this, but I think I read somewhere that it was started by some people who had worked at Case Cutlery, or W.R. Case & Sons. I own several Canal Street knives, and occasionally I see a similarity between their product and some of the better Case products. So maybe that's the connection. In any event, let's get started here. I'd like to point out how their box looks. It's interesting. I like the 1920s, 1930s label on it. Knives are made in Ellenville, New York. Ellenville has been involved in the cutlery industry for, oh good grief, 100 years or more. Other knife companies have had plants there, so it's kind of a storied town for knives, particularly slip joints. Canal Street makes their knives in limited runs. Generally, they're not great big mass-produced products, and they're not a very big company, so they don't do stuff that way. But I'm going to take some stuff out of the box here, and you can see it, and we'll talk about it a little bit. You get atypical paperwork. You get a sheet that tells you a little bit about the knife. The one we're looking at now is a traditional trapper. And then this we'll talk about here in a minute. The knives come in a pouch, a jeweler's pouch. This is kind of like Benchmade. Benchmade knives sends their knives out in a jeweler's pouch. Yes, I mentioned Benchmade in a slip joint knife video. For you slip joint maniacs, get over it. You'll be okay, I promise. But that is a nice point of refinement by both Benchmade on the modern knife side and Canal Street on the slip joint side. Nicely embroidered logo here. I really like it. I think it's classy. Well, the knife comes wrapped in tissue paper. Kind of like I've said about Case knives, I really wish they'd use the wax paper that Great Eastern Cutlery uses. This tissue paper is just too weak, and when you're storing a collectible knife, you want better material, storage materials, not wimpy storage materials. So here we go. This is the knife. It is a traditional trapper. All of the slip joint companies of past era and today make the traditional trapper. We're going to talk about why this one is a little unusual, and I think you'll find it interesting. But this is Canal Street's take on it. These are wood scales, and I'll tell you what kind of wood here in a minute. You can see they have a nice warm brown tone to it. They are beautifully sanded and finished. The pins are all flush. This, I believe, is a brass shield where it says CS for Canal Street. I like that. I think that looks really good. The bolsters are nickel silver. Back springs are steel, beautifully polished. There's the back side of the knife. Again, they're limited runs, so they are serial numbered. This one has the serial number etched on the front bolster. I like that they've rounded it here. Were this a carry knife, it would be much more comfortable because of that. It is a two-bladed knife. Here's one of the similarities between Canal Street and Case. If you look at this spay blade shape, it looks a lot, I mean like 98% like the Case version of the same thing. Nicely polished steel. Blade steel is 440C, which is a stainless, instead of 1095 hard carbon like it's used on some others. One of the interesting things about Canal Street is that they will use a variety of different steels. I think I've even seen them use some Swedish steels, some Chinese steels, a variety of American steels. This just happens to be 440C. Perfectly flush with the back spring where it meets the blade tang, the liners, and the bolster. Nice and sharp. Well done. Nice walk and talk on this knife. Hear that snap? Locked up beautifully. This is their main clip blade. I have to say that I see a little bit of the current case clip blade, but only a little bit. I like this a little nicer. I think it's a little more elegantly shaped, and it does have a little bit of a swedge here. It's a very subtle swedge. You may not pick it up on camera, but I like that, whereas the current case one doesn't have any swedge, and it's just a functional flat ground blade. Nothing wrong with it, it's just not as attractive. Canal Street's logo stamped on the blade tang here, nice and crisp, well done. Again, beautiful polish. The presentation side of these knife blades, which would mean the side that's facing you now, are polished. The back, which would be this side, has a satin finish. Canal Street is the only company I've ever seen do blades with two different finishes on the same blade. I find it interesting. It's a little odd, but interesting, and I like it. I also like the trapper pattern a lot. It just seems to fit nicely in the hand, and does not have a half stop to it. I wish it did, but it doesn't. Nice snap though. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the handle material. It's called reclaimed American chestnut. Pretty rare material, and you're thinking, why would it be rare? It's wood, and it's a rare type of wood. This sheet of paper that comes with the knife talks about it, and I'll read you a little bit from it. Chestnut blight caused by a fungus entered the country on Asian nursery stock imported to New York around 1900. The American chestnut tree was highly susceptible, and the species was devastated throughout the natural range extended over the Appalachians and highlands from Maine to Georgia. By 1940, 3.5 billion, that's billion with a B, American chestnut trees had perished. If you can possibly imagine that many trees dying from a disease, that's what happened. That's why that chestnut material used for these handle scales is so rare. The material is called reclaimed American chestnut. Well, that means it was not taken from a living tree. Where they got this chestnut was from a place called the Hoover Barn, located just outside Hopkinsville, Kentucky. The barn was built around 1920 and served as an agricultural building until the late 1970s, when it was deemed too dangerous to house animals or to work out of due to its deteriorating condition. So it was deconstructed in late 2007, and the material from that deconstruction has been used on things like this knife. So I think that's very cool. I like that they did it. It makes the knife kind of unusual, special even, or more special. So there you go, there's that. I do have another. You did see two boxes. This, however, is not another trapper. It does have the same paperwork and all that. Nice pouch again. We've seen that. And the crazy tissue paper that doesn't hold up. We've seen that too. So what have we? What we have here is a Barlow. Nice little Barlow in reclaimed American chestnut. They've done a great job with this. The Canal Street logo, rather than being on a brass coin shield, is stamped, etched, engraved. There we go, it's engraved. That's the word I was looking for. Into the nickel silver bolster. And again, limited run. It is serial numbered, so is the trapper. Beautifully done with the handle scales and the bolster and the back spring. It's just nice and tight. They've done a great job with this little knife, kind of like they did on its brother, the trapper. It is a two-bladed Barlow with a pen blade. And again, the back of the blade isn't polished, it's satin, but the presentation side is polished. Perfect lockup. You heard that snap. That's got a little bit of power to it. And here's the main blade. Nice clip blade, Canal Street logo in the tang. Nice thick stock, satin finish, polish finish. Beautiful stuff. So there you go, Canal Street. If you haven't checked them out, do so. They're a fun knife to collect. Another great slip joint. See ya.